First, let me start by saying that I'm withdrawing from benzodiazepine and opiates, and this is the nature of my story. It's called Trying to Get Clean in America, a cautionary tale for the addicted. First, let me preface this by saying it's not a million little pieces. It's all been documented, and I'm still in the midst of it. My name is James Bowers. I'm a 52-year-old recovering alcoholic residing in Manchester, New Hampshire. I developed a genetic form of lupus when I was 23, lupus anticoagulant syndrome. In plain terms, my body manufactures blood clots, causing my legs to swell and become very painful and inflamed. The standard practice is elevation and something for pain. The doctor prescribed the painkillers as he should have, but this is not about him. One thing led to another and my tolerance became very high, forcing me to use more and more of the drug. Consequently, I became very addicted to them and took too many, which made me ill and forced me to the street for the drugs I needed. I grew tired of taking pills and decided to try and get clean. This is where my story begins. I called a methadone clinic in Manchester, methadone being commonly called liquid handcuffs. When I went there, I was using 80 to 100 grains per day. They started me slowly and brought me to 110 milligrams of liquid methadone daily for maintenance. Besides having lupus, I have traumatic epilepsy. The two combined worried me a lot about a blood clot killing me or going through the agony of a grand mal seizure. This caused me great anxiety, so I was prescribed Xanax XR benzodiazepine. Not being a chemist, I did not know what I later found out. They did not ask me to get off the Xanax XR, and that Xanax XR and methadone mixed changed the chemical composition of methadone to that of something closer to heroin. Remember, I came to this place to get clean. I went for 4 months to get clean, took my medicine, attended groups, and had counseling. Found that a lot of clients had been there for years. This is a place I thought I could get off drugs. I did not want to be there for 5 years on methadone, so I made a decision to go to a treatment hospital in a small town in Vermont. As I mentioned before, I take Xanax XR 1 milligram daily. Apparently, so the doctor said, admissions had made a mistake and put a 0 on the end of the 1, making this Xanax XR 10 milligrams daily. Xanax XR comes only in doses of 1, 2, and 3 milligrams, 3 milligrams being the highest. Apparently, no one bothered to check the PDR to locate this information. This hospital, they had no Xanax XR, so they decided to substitute Librium. Simply stated, time release of Xanax XR is broken down into 425s. I don't know what they're called. I'm not a chemist. I'm a professional chef. The calculation that the doctor used was 25 times 10 instead of 25 times 1. I was prescribed 250 milligrams every day. 300 milligrams of Librium can be fatal. Remember, I came here to get off the methadone, and the drug used for that is Suboxone. You can decide to taper off or stay on a maintenance dose like they do with methadone. I chose to taper, already being too loaded on methadone. I mean, not methadone, 250 milligrams of Librium. 300 milligrams of Librium can be fatal. Thank God. While in treatment, I listened to a pharmacologist who explained mixing Suboxone with benzos could be fatal. If I had chosen to maintain instead of taper, this story would never have been written. The hospital realized their mistake 5 days later. I was beyond toxic. They made me stay 3 more days to get me off the drugs they put me on in the first place. This hospital cost $1,700 per day. It was explained to me by my doctor that my whole hospital cost was free. Why? My blood levels were checked and my thyroid was on the high side. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, sometimes caused by too many benzodiazepines. I was to leave on a Thursday, and my doctor asked me to stay till Friday. Would you? I left Thursday with a normal discharge, not against medical advice, and proceeded to drive to Manchester with prescriptions and a titrating scale. The damage had already been done. There are no words to describe the hell I was in. Ask any junkie or read about withdrawal coming off of heroin. I was coming off benzodiazepine as well, the number 1 and 2 worst drugs to get off of. My condition did not improve. My blood pressure was off and my pulse was very high. My girlfriend Mary Ellen drove me to or called nearly 8 different hospitals or treatment centers. I was denied access to them, all of them. They said it was way over their head or because of pre-existing medical conditions they would not touch me. We turned to an ER in a hospital in East Manchester where I was given a shrug of the shoulders from the attending physician, who was either far too young, uninformed, or arrogant to understand the true nature of my dilemma. I left with no treatment, angry and desperately ill, shaking, sweating, flashing, and high. I was truly in double jeopardy and still am. As I write this, my eyes are failing, my pulse racing, and my body screaming like I was injected with liquid fire. Diarrhea, vomiting, sweating, confusion. This is the way I feel now. I don't know what my future holds. It would be too easy to go out and score some dope to get out of this river Styx, but I will be back in the handcuffs again and the dope would take my life. I don't know where I'll end up, but I know there are thousands of suffering addicts with nowhere to turn to. This was not Tokyo, New York, Chicago, or larger cities, when one might expect these errors, but in two relatively small New England cities. A very well-respected treatment center in Vermont and a small methadone operation in Manchester. I believe this would not have happened 10 years ago. What has happened to the human compassion that used to exist in America, that I spell with a K for confined, not with a C for the Constitution, that's been trampled underfoot, leaving thousands without help and nowhere to go? I grew up in Mark Twain America. This new one smells strongly of Orwell. If you're suffering, I hope you find a solution. And watch the internet for part 2 of Trying to Get Clean in Amerika, a cautionary tale for the addicted. Still shaken and broken. Yours in peace, James Bowers.